Here's a shortcut to spotting invalid arguments without drawing whole truth tables. Welcome to Critical Thinking Scan, where we look at how you can think about any faith-challenging message and arrive at a biblical, logical conclusion yourself. I'm Patricia Engler, and today let's look at a shorter method of spotting flawed argument structures. In the last couple videos, we saw how to spot formal fallacies by making truth tables that show all the possible combinations of true or false statements for each premise in an argument. If there's a row in the table which shows the argument's premises can all be true while its conclusion is false, you've shown the argument is invalid, because a valid argument will never have a false conclusion and true premises. But if you know the basic rules of propositional logic, which we looked at in episode number 57, you can show an argument is invalid without filling out a whole truth table. Instead, you just try to show it's possible for the conclusion to be false while the premises are true. Let's see how to do this with the following argument. If molecules demand evolution is true, then we can observe it directly or see its effects. We cannot observe it directly, but we can see its effects. Therefore, evolution is true. As usual, we'll start by representing each simple statement with a letter. Let's use P for evolution is true, Q for we can observe evolution directly, and R for we can see its effects. So we can write the whole argument as if P, then Q or R. Not Q, R, therefore P. To check if this argument is valid, we'll start by writing the premises and conclusion in a single row. Next, we'll ask what would have to happen for the conclusion to be false? Well, P is the conclusion, so the truth value for P would just have to be F for false. To be consistent, we'll also write F under P wherever else P appears in the argument. Next, we think about what would have to happen for each of the premises to be true. Right away, we can see that one of the premises is just R. So for that premise to be true, R would just have to be true. So we'll write a T for true under R wherever else R appears in the argument. We can also see that another premise is not Q. So for not Q to be true, Q would have to be false. So we'll write F under Q wherever Q appears in the argument. These values make premises number 2 and 3 true. But what about premise 1, if P then Q or R? The disjunction Q or R is only false if both Q and R are false. But we just said R had to be true, so Q or R must also be true. The whole conditional is if P then Q or R is only false if P is true but Q or R is false. But we just said Q or R is true, so the conditional which makes up premise 2 must also be true. By assigning these truth values to P, Q, and R, we've shown this argument's premises can all be true while its conclusion is false. This means the argument is invalid. So that's an example of how to spot a formal fallacy without drawing a whole truth table. To summarize, you start by assigning letters to each simple statement in the argument, writing the argument out as a single line, and assigning truth values true or false to the statements in the conclusion which would make the conclusion false. Then you apply those same values to the statements wherever else they appear in the premises. Next, you assign truth values to the other statements in the premises which would make those premises true. If you can consistently assign truth values to the simple statements that make the premises true and the conclusion false, the argument is invalid. If there's no way to show the conclusion is false and the premises are true, the argument is valid. Of course, even valid arguments aren't worth believing if the premises aren't true. But with this method, at least you can prove whether the argument contains a formal fallacy. For more on how to think critically about faith-challenging messages, you can access my other CT Scan videos packed with tactics, tips, and tools that helped me as a Christian student at secular university. Thank you for watching. Hey, it's Patricia here. Just wanting to let you know that if you like these videos, a free, easy way to help Answers in Genesis Canada create more content and equip more people to defend their faith is to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, click the bell, and of course, share these resources. That lets the social media algorithms help these videos reach more people who can benefit from them, saving us advertising expenses while promoting biblical authority. Thank you so much.